Online student, can anyone confirm that they can
Yes, sir. Visible.
audio,
Yes, sir.
audio, video both?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So you are ready, right?
Bonbon wants to get a cookie from the cookie jar, which is just a few meters away from him. Now, how is
So what we are going to you are going to hear from this video, the importance of breakdown. What is breakdown? When you have decided about yes, अभी मैं देता हूँ हाँ क्लास के बाद ले लूँगा ठीक है और एक और एनिमेट वो आप दे दें वो मैंने कर लिया कॉपी So this video is all about to inform you or showcase you what about the role of the breakdown. What is breakdown? Then from one pose to second pose, how would be the animation going to be? Means how the character go for mannerism or something. That breakdown keys, one single breakdown keys can define everything. So in this entire video, you try to understand that the role and the significance of this.
Bonbon going to get that cookie? Honestly, he could just walk towards the cookie jar, just grab his cookie and take a bite out.
So this is the first approach.
That solves everything, right?
The character is moving from location A to B in manner 1.
Let's go back to the initial problem. What if I said Bonbon could actually run to the cookie jar and then get his cookie?
So this is the second approach for location 1 to location 2 or A or B.
There are so many ways our little dog can get his cookie. Bonbon could crawl, jump, sprint, dive, roll, slide. Bonbon can stop to wish you peace and then proceed to get his cookie. Whatever action he decides to take, he's still going to get that cookie. But you've already noticed by now that all these
are the different approach breakdowns from one pose to second or the last one you can say. The mannerism or behavior or you can say the requirement of the scene, it could be anything. So based on breakdown, so breakdown is between two key poses, two main golden poses, which defines this all thing, mannerism, approach and other things.
Approaches of him getting the cookie have all been different. So there you have it. I've described several different solutions on how this dog can get his cookie. What if I told you him not having the cookie and him finally having the cookie are the keyframes, and whatever action he decides to take are the breakdowns? So what is a breakdown? A breakdown in character animation describes the action and performances that connect our two main poses. A breakdown can be one pose, drawing, or key, or they can be more than just one. These add a unique flavor to your animation. It also helps the animator organize how your main keys should connect. I have some visual examples to help. So for this episode, I'm going to be using characters for an idea I have. So each of these characters are going to resemble different examples on how a breakdown can be used. I'll first introduce the idea of actually using a breakdown, and then how to use those breakdowns so you have texture and it has a bit more uniqueness to it, or how to use it so you can organize your key poses, and how it can be applied to basic character movement. So again, I'm going to introduce it, and how it can be used in character movement, posing, and acting. First, let's talk about how a breakdown can easily be applied to your animation work. Here I have two drawings that's basically supposed to resemble a girl turning her head from one direction to the other.
So these are the two main key poses for your storytelling. Generally we adapt these poses from storyboard. Key pose 1 and key pose 2. Timing is 25 frames in between.
Starting from pose A to pose B. Take note that I'm just going to use these initial two drawings as my main key poses. For my first example, I could simply make a breakdown that simply bridges our key poses. Now, what we get is a simple in-between. There's nothing special about it, nothing unique. There's just nothing specific about it. So that's one breakdown. Now, what if I decided to redo this breakdown, and instead of just a normal in-between, I'll have her head dip down with a blink. Notice how there's a bit more weight. I would argue there's a bit more snappiness to it. The moment feels
There are two kind of animation within a similar kind of key poses. Just because of breakdown, the mannerism has changed now.
a bit more special. I'm going to do another example. This time, her head actually tilts upwards. Even if it's not that specific, even if there's no weight, there's something unique about it. It gives a character a certain attitude already. See how a simple breakdown can already change the way the keys connect? How it affects the actual performance of these acting choices? So again, she could turn her head in so many different ways. Now I'm going to do something that's closer to actual acting and performance. Don't get me wrong here, you still need to have solid key drawings to sell great acting. Think of your main keys, your main poses, as your main ingredient, and the breakdowns as several seasonings you can apply. Here are two drawings with the same timing. It's basically our boy character just reacting to something, in awe. That's pretty much it. So again, our two initial poses start off with a boy in a neutral expression to a reaction of awe. Let's explore a few different breakdowns. Our first breakdown could just be a simple blink. Maybe his shoulders contract upwards. Notice how dipping his head, closing his eyes, and raising his shoulders emphasize the squash in his face. I'll call this the blink because it's the most cliche thing we animators can do. Now I'm going to do another breakdown. In this take, instead of having him blink, I'm going to emphasize the stretch. So I'm going to drop his shoulders, forcing his head to stretch, and it's going to be stretched even more because his mouth is open. Again, I'm emphasizing the stretch. Now it looks like he's gasping to what he's reacting to. I'll call this a gasp, but because our previous example was more of a squash, I'll just say this is our stretch example. Sometimes it doesn't have to be a squash or stretch. It could just be a change in direction, a turn. He could shift his attention to the left or to the right. It's kind of like my previous example with the girl, where she could turn her head in different directions. Doing this alone doesn't really serve any specific performance choice I can think of, but depending on what the context of the scene is, it could always vary. I've shown that you can make breakdowns based on the squash and stretch principle, but here I'm just using arcs. Alright, so those were my basic three examples. We have a basic squash, a basic stretch, and usage of the arcs. Each of them already give a different feeling. Now remember I said that there can be more than two breakdown drawings for two key poses. Again, the breakdown is describing the actual movement, so if you need more description for that movement, be sure to have those drawings. I'm going to do some examples. Here's my second take of him blinking. This time, two drawings. He squashes to register the thought, and then he stretches to make a gasp, an emotional reaction. You can see I'm starting to mix squash and stretch together, but more importantly, this now gives an overall different feeling and effect. There's a bit more weight too. Now, I'm going to do another take where he gasps first, then falls into squash, and then finally settling into the final pose. This gives the idea that he was caught off guard. Only after the gasp does he begin to have a thoughts process to register whatever he saw. Again, the second drawing of the breakdown is a squash, and it adds more of that weight. I kind of overshot it to show weight. So that's another tip. Use breakdowns to apply extra emphasis on weight, such as overshoots or a change in momentum. Just by looking at these two takes, you can tell they're basically the opposite of each other, or the reverse. Now let's do another take on the breakdown based on the movement of arcs. Here's an example where his body turns into many different directions. Now this is starting to feel a little more specific. Not only does the animation have more impact, all the great action of our man character just punching, throwing the most cliche, the most generic looking punch. It's not the most proper form or the technical form of boxing or whatnot, but you know what? It's a punch, and we're just gonna work through these drawings and make it look believable at least. So in these two drawings, he just steps forward a bit and throws a punch from the opposite side. So this would be called a cross. So let's come up with a bunch of different breakdowns for this particular punch, these two drawings. So here's my first take. It's nothing special, it's very safe looking. In my first breakdown drawing, the character is slowly stepping forward, while his other arm, the punching arm, is somewhat anticipating this punch. After the punch, I just made him shift back with his foot dragging. What we get is a dull looking punch, nothing special, no performance notes, nothing unique about it. It looks like someone you'd see in a workout class. In my second take, I gave him more of a steady frame. Everything about him feels tighter than the first breakdown. In my breakdowns, I prioritized keeping his arms close to his face as much as possible, and him being defensive, his head is a bit more tucked in, chin closer to the neck. He's starting to feel a bit more seasoned, like an experienced fighter, or a fighter with a bit of experience. Now, what if a guy fights with strength and power, and he wants to emphasize that? In this example, my first breakdown is him winding up, shifting his upper body back, winding up that momentum for a devastating cross. After he throws that punch, I wanted to shift his shoulders, or rotate, twist his shoulders a bit more, so I'm just emphasizing the power of that strike. So even though it's the same timing, the same keys, I tried my best to give it a bit more of that power. Notice how the timing between the bit where he winds his fist back and then throws a punch feels a lot snappier and a lot heavier because of how much contrast there is in the spacing. Some fighters are quick on their feet and like to move a lot. This fighter is active and always on the move. Opposite to the power fighter who uses his whole body to create the power and the movement, I use his head to lead the overall movement. So if you look at my breakdowns, I'm using his head as a leading asset of his breakdown. So wherever his head kind of moves, his body starts to shift along with the head. This gives him a more intuitive feel. He's evasive and quick on his toes. He's always ready to get out of danger. He doesn't fight with strength, but he's more on the move and just getting out of harm's way. I'll just call him the evasive fighter. Let's stick to that. So have you seen those videos of random punks fighting on the street in public, and when you see the way they fight, but then even the breakdowns I've done in the past have a more direct punch, I emphasize this opportunity to throw a quick jab. The Eastern styles like Kung Fu Force all the time. And when he's stepping back, he quickly uses his other arm to block the incoming punch or attack. It all happens really fast, but that just shows how you can make complex breakdowns to fulfill your character's intent and purpose. I could do a lot more takes for these simple drawings, but then again, there are so many options available, it's pretty much endless. You can approach a breakdown any way or any form you decide to go with. I just wanted to show that with the use of unique breakdowns, a simple punch can feel like something else. A breakdown, again, is there to serve or emphasize a certain performance, a certain attitude, and to sell the character. And with that, you do need texture and flavor in your animation. So there you have it. Different approaches to a man throwing a single cheesy punch, same initial poses, same timing, different breakdowns. So I've shown you examples of how you can use breakdowns and how you can make your own secondary keys. Now that you're animating, you might have to start adding some breakdowns in your work. I have 5 pointers for you guys to think about when making these breakdowns. Number 1, weight distribution. Acknowledge.
Hope this is clear about breakdown. I'm sharing you the link of this video in chat box. So online student, any question? Are they getting the point, this idea of breakdown, how it is important and how can it change that entire flavor of your animation?
Yes, sir.
And I shared this video, same kind of poses. The only thing, the approach from first pose to second pose. And it's all about the requirement of the scene, requirement of your director, kind of acting you have to add, whether it's a cartoony or realistic or some mix. So that based on that, you have to change your breakdown and it will change the entire approach. Okay. So save, I would say that you save this video. In coming time, you constantly can use this reference for adding the breakdown. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, Anish.
Sir, what software do we use to produce these 2D animation?
See, there are two kind of animation. One is first we have to try to understand traditional animation, or you can say manual hand drawn. This one, a similar kind of thing can do, whereas we are using software. In both the way, you have to draw, right? That is 2D animation. So in traditional animation, you have to draw every sequence through on paper with drawing and then scan it, and you can do it. And traditional way cutout animation is there, whereas you have to create a character, cut it down from every joints wherever the body moves. These two what I have just told you is a form of 2D animation, sorry, traditional animation. Similar if you come to software, so one is TV Paints, one software is there where you can draw these kind of images purely drawing, and you are doing every frame by your own. So it's a digital version of your classical animation. Another one is a this one, what we call it, symbol or rig one, which is that Adobe Animate CC, which we are going to cover in coming classes. That is the digital version of cutout animation. Hope it is clear to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. And someone has raised the hand, but I can't see. 1 minute.
Yes, sir, it's me, Tanisha.
Tanisha, yeah, what's your question?
So, how are we supposed to know that two keyframes कि कितने वो breakdowns होने चाहिए?
It's totally, you
how
have to
many?
plan out. There is a word, thumbnails. So before launching or before jumping into full-fledged animation, you have to use your paper or some corner of your digital format and plan out your animation. And roughly do. You must have seen and must have observed that it's not clean drawings, which you just saw that on video. It's very rough scribble work, right?
Yes, sir.
So you have to roughly just work with the shapes, use shapes, and find out whether it's going on good or not. Once you find, okay, my motion, this motion is going good, the action is going good, then add your character. Don't just directly jump to create character. It's all silhouettes are there.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Who else? Okay, let me answer this. Those who are available here. I'm just muting myself for 1-2 minutes. So now you people can see the interface of 2D Animate CC, this Adobe Animate CC. Can you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Since I'm going very slow pace, not directly projects or anything. Till the time you people having, all of you having at least any end of your system, this one. So this is generally, like I think very first day I told you, this is the stage, and stage itself says what does it mean. So from here in interface you can go for this percentage, fit to this one, or you can go for 25%. So you can explore this kind of thing. So this is the stage, and whatever is on this white surface is going to expose or it's going to be render out, and final output you can see within the screen. If something is lying here, it is not going to be visible or going to render and not going to be part of your final output, right? So some tools are there. I think many of you are already know Photoshop. How many of you have? They just raise hand, those who know Photoshop little bit. 2 I can see online. 3 students. Rest of other students. No need to high hand Photoshop, but yeah, n number of students are there. You people, those who are present here, how many of you just raise your hand? Know a bit of Photoshop. Photoshop. Okay. So it's very much similar because the product from the same similar company, Adobe, right? So you can identify these tools very easily.
Yes, sir.
Right? So few tools are there, like selection tools are there, and then transform tools are there. If you keep your cursor, you can identify which tool is this. Some tools are there for tracing for your character. If you bring, you're supposed to get a character which you're supposed to trace over here. There is a two-way import, either directly on stage or library. So we'll come into later stage what is library and how does it going to help you out. So first, this is the tools and the properties. These tools and the property of these tools, that tools. So if I click, for example, this one, so it says this is going to be your this one outline, and this is there's no fill for that. So like this you can create, right? And then you can probably this bucket is very much recognizable to you, so you can fill the color. So before starting tracing, you just I would request you, those who are there at home, come at least on Monday, collect this software with me, so that you can install at it as any of the machine at your home or your laptop or whatever. Right? Some tools are there which you have to practice, explore. In this way. So we'll explore few tools for tracing, for movement and transformation. And here you can see layers are there. So layers are there. You can create layers like any other software. You have to simply click here, or you have to just delete it out. So delete this bean is there. You can delete. You
So
can
I
see.
have a question.
Sorry, come again.
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
So in Photoshop there is timeline too. So can we animate in Photoshop also?
See, we are going to a common. That is totally you are free to do that, because if you know animation, you can use any software where you can create sequence images. So that is up to you. But in syllabus, we are going to cover this animate CC. So how does it helpful for you? So once you have created a character in Adobe Animate CC, and you have to divide into entire like cutout animation, so you need not to do again and again, because the thing which you are asking, that is all about drawing, digital drawing,
Yes, sir.
right? So probably many of you do not skillful that much. So if you are, then you definitely can explore there also and here also. But
Okay, sir.
commonly or averagely, we are going to use puppet cutout kind of animation.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, so like any animation, there are a timeline here. You have layers, you have visibility and invisibility, you have lock, so that you can lock for initial stage. Like any other tools, like files are there, you can create for new, or you can open recently if you are working, and import export, like many other save as tools are there. So generally what is we are going to start, we have to identify a character, either it is drawn by you or readily available to do, bring it in this stage, and with the help of layer system, we have to keep every layer system. For example, there's a character, so we are planning for head, so we keep we have to give the name also, the naming like any other software. So wherever, if you write head, use that layer only, and create your trace out character head. Uh, we'll try all the tools almost to create like this. This one is there, right? And if you can see this color bar over here, right? Is it visible to you? The color bar small.
Yes, sir.
So if I click, so it only shows you the outline. If it clicks, there's a filled one. Okay, so many times if you want to see your character, to define your this boxes, you can do like this. So for example, I can deform it as per my requirement. If I hold alt button, so you can add more points. So it's adding the points. Once you are done with this, so you can simply go and find out your color, use bucket. No, it's not there. happened like accidentally you decided, so you can delete, so you can go back, Control Z like any other software. Then lock it. And if you, why this color is not visible? Because you have to click this box. This is in outline mode only. So this way you can, once you created your character, the shape of your character, then you can fill the color required there. So this way you can create different shapes and form. So for head, you have to use this head, then you go for another layer for eyes. So the decision, the way you have to take is like head is moving. So from neck, you have to create a head basis on that. Another layer, the torso, another layer, hands, limbs, so on, wherever there's a movement. So layer wise, you have to do, identify your color. So once you are ready, this character, you have to change into this symbol, convert into symbol, and go for graphics, give whatever name you want. So now it is movable. So you have to, before moving, double click. So you can define this also, this anchor point, to give your reshape this one. So before coming next 2D classes, you have to at least find out one character, simple character made out of basic shapes. Keep ready with you. So we'll start with the first exercise, that tracing the character, single character, then going for dividing in different forms. Correct? Yeah, I think Tanisha, have you raised the hand? Hello?
No, sir.
Okay, it's visible, that's why. So do it fast, collect this software, install in your software, so that we can start our proper animation classes. We have to spend our time, much time, to trace out that character. All of you have to trace different character, and then once it is ready, we have to plan out for rigging, so we can give that motion, whatever required motions are there. Then go for we'll take the support of tweening. Tweening is just like filling the frame between two key poses. Different kind of tweens are there, like classical is there, motion is there, shapes. Three kind of things are there which we learn in once you are ready with your character. So I hope you people will be ready by next week with your material.